Welcome to another instalment of In the Kitchen with Breaks. Today we're going to talk about health and well-being. Consumers are more and more concerned about what they're eating and how that's impacting their overall health. People are changing their dietary habits, they're focusing on calories and exercise. The new legislation with calories on menus is really making this easy for consumers to make the right choices for them. Here at Breaks, we have a passionate and dedicated resource as a nutritionist in Fleur Key. She really works hard with our team of chefs to ensure that we have great tasting recipes that are nutritionally light and deliver everything they need to deliver. So over to Fleur, and I'm sure she'll give you a great introduction.
Hi, my name's Fleur Key and I'm here to talk to you today about calories. So a calorie is a measure of the energy in the food and drink that we consume, and we need this energy to do all the processes in the body, walking, talking, thinking, etc. However, it's when we have too many calories, too much energy for what we need, that it becomes a bit of an issue. So we have to store it in our fat cells. And at the moment there's a huge push to reduce the amount of calories that we're eating, and one way the government are doing that is by ensuring that certain establishments label the dishes on their menu with the number of calories in each dish. So with 28% of adults currently suffering with obesity in England and 36% overweight, there's a real push at the moment to reduce the number of calories that we're consuming. So the hope is that by seeing the number of calories on the menu, consumers will then be pushed to choose slightly healthier dishes that are lower in calories. So if you join me today in the kitchen, we'll see what we're doing here at Breaks to help you do that.
Good morning. Hi, we're here at Breaks in Ashford. I'm here with my colleagues Fleur and Matt, and we've taken 3 classic dishes and made them healthier for you. So first off, we have a Chilli Con Carne. Matt, this looks fantastic. Tell me what you've done to make this chilli healthier.
Okay, so we've pretty much done something to every element of this dish. So you can see we've used a 50-50 rice, so we've got wholemeal and white rice there.
Okay.
The tortillas, we've baked our own, rather than using the pre-fried. We use some spice and dice on there just to add some flavour. The chilli itself, we've roasted the vegetables.
Yeah.
We've added some lentils to reduce the meat content in there. And then we've made our own salsa, rather than using Breaks brought in salsa, which will give a much fresher flavour as well.
Yeah.
And then we just added some avocado rather than using guacamole.
Excellent. So even though it's healthier, we haven't compromised on any of the flavour. We've intensified it, haven't we?
Exactly that. It looks like, to be honest, I think it looks a fresh dish.
So what do you think, Fleur? What, from a visual point of view, can you see that's healthy? Would you notice if you were eating that in a restaurant?
Yeah, I think it looks a bit more modern, and the fact that you've carefully baked rather than fried, you've used the 50-50 rice, all these things, a bit more fibre, there's less meat, so arguably better for the planet. The natural yoghurt rather than sour cream, there's less saturated fat there, so every element of the dish you've made healthier in delicate ways, but really kept that really nice, bright, fresh flavour.
So again, we've not lost anything in the composition of the dish, the flavour. We've just reduced maybe the calories in that dish. Okay, brilliant. That's our first dish. So Matt, I see now we have a really classic menu item here. Chicken Tikka Masala.
Yep.
Again, I see you visually, I personally wouldn't know the difference. It looks very healthy. What have you done to this, Matt?
First obvious one that you probably picked up maybe was the naan bread. So obviously we removed the naan bread from it. We actually steam the chicken in this one rather than pan frying it. Obviously a much healthier method of cooking.
Yeah.
Again, we've used a 50-50 rice on there, so using the wholemeal rice. And then when we actually made the curry, instead of using coconut milk, we use a natural yoghurt, so fat-free yoghurt, again, which should reduce the fat in the dish.
Okay. So again, flavours, full of flavour.
Yeah, should be exactly,
Do you find steaming the chicken helps it keep it moister?
Yeah, definitely 100%. It's a much better method of cooking, and to be honest, something we don't do enough of them, and you can do it just on more than the curries.
Fleur,
Fantastic.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
from a nutritional point of view?
Like you've said earlier about the steaming rather than frying, you're not then having that excess fat in there, but keeping the flavour and the moisture. The rice again, having that bit of whole grain rice in there, a lot more filling, lots more fibre, and you don't necessarily need the naan bread to make it a really attractive and
well, we just sell that as an extra, make a bit more money on that one. Yeah, don't worry. I think that was fantastic, Matt, and it's a great example of how you can make dishes healthier. Matt, one of my personal favourites, Katsu chicken curry burger.
That's the one.
Beautiful. Explain to us what you've done here then, because this to me is, as I say, one of my favourites, and you can't mess with one of my favourites.
Quite a few differences here. First obvious one you got there is the chips. So we've used a skin on fry there rather than the skinny fries. We've used a wholemeal bun.
Okay.
Obviously rather than the brioche bun we've got here. The slaw in the bottom, so the slaw in both. The unhealthy one, as we call it, is a mayonnaise based slaw. This one, we haven't done any dressing on the slaw at all, but in the bun itself we've got some natural yoghurt and we've still got the katsu curry sauce.
Okay.
The chicken fillet itself, rather than a pre-breaded one, which obviously you're going to put in the fryer, we've marinated the chicken overnight and then char grilled it on the char grill.
Oh, okay.
So I think
That's
that's
nice,
a better flavour on there. And that's pretty much the difference between those two.
So, forgive me here, Fleur. I thought chips weren't healthy. So what makes that chip slightly healthier than that chip?
Well, these are skin-on fries, so
Okay.
you've got a lot of nutrition in the skin, and there's a slightly smaller portion there than here, and these are smaller, so there's more surface area to actually pick up that oil when you're deep frying. But not only that, life is about balance. You can still have chips and have a healthy diet. We're not saying never have this and always have that. There's a time for either of them. But if you do want a healthier option, if you do want to show on your menu you've got slightly less calories than you did perhaps before, you've got the chicken without the bread on it, so you don't need to deep fry it. You can still have that flavour like you've just said. And you've got the naked slaw, so you don't have all of that mayonnaise that it can be a bit heavy.
Yeah.
So there's lots of elements of that, and the wholemeal bread as well. It is better for you than white bread and the brioche there. So.
And we've got our 5 a day in the bun.
Well, maybe not all of your 5 a day, but certainly some of it.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I think we've given you 3 good, brilliant recipes that you could utilise to make them slightly healthier, still give you menu appeal and still deliver on flavour and taste.